Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage. We are back with another episode of the Legend Makers podcast, and today I have with me Sarah Schemanske. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, how are you, Scott?
I'm doing great. You're out of Ann Arbor Public Schools. You're at Wines Elementary there?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. And we're going to talk a lot about Project Lead the Way, I think, today, right? Because you are a Project Lead the Way teacher. You're also a trainer, and you've been involved with it since, I think, 2016 or earlier?
Yep, 2016. We've had it in the district for over 20 years, but started it full force at the elementary in 2016.
Wow. So prior to coming to Ann Arbor, you were a classroom teacher for 11 years. I guess you were in North Carolina and Clinton, Michigan. So you bounced around a little bit?
Some experience in second grade, third grade, fourth grade. So definitely led to being a stronger STEM teacher because of that experience with the different grades. And we piloted our program as a co-taught program. So gained a lot of knowledge and expertise from our kindergarten and fifth grade teachers to really help me broaden my knowledge and skills.
Great. I'm going to talk about the STEM teacher because there really, quote, isn't a STEM. You don't learn to teach. You don't go to school to teach STEM. You become a STEM educator, right?
Absolutely.
Let's start there. Well, thank you for joining me. I'm really excited for this. I want to start there because I think everybody throws this word around STEM and STEAM, and we have STEM classes and there's STEM enrichment, but it's the discipline, it's the interconnectivity of those things, right? Science and technology, engineering, math, arts, if you're STEAM. But how does one become a STEM teacher?
Well, so I started out in a second grade classroom, and math was really my passion. I come from a family of engineers, so a little shocking to go the education route. And my mom now, kids all the time, like, say, you just took a different route, but still doing engineering. Yeah. And so as a classroom teacher, teaching the math and teaching the science was always my favorite. I was able to be a part of a lot of math committees and science committees and just really found my passion. And when I was down in North Carolina, they actually started a magnet school for science, technology, engineering, and math. And when the superintendent came into our building to kind of talk about the new school that was happening, the entire staff turned around and goes, "Schemanske, are you leaving us?" And at the time I said no, then ironically I did end up transferring into that school and really did find my passion and find my joy. And so cool to kind of have everything cross-curricular, interconnected, and really help students learn through hands-on exploration. So really having a shift in the methodology of my instruction and watching their passion and their excitement about learning just maximize every single lesson. I remember one time I had someone come in from the district level doing a classroom walkthrough, and she said, "I love that your room is so loud." And I kind of did a second take, is she serious or sarcastic? And she's like, "No, your room is loud because kids are being productive. They're excited. They're engaging with one another. This is what I love to see." And that's kind of always resonated with me. And that's what my classroom is now. It's loud, but it's loud because of engagement, excitement, kids collaborating, kids sharing ideas. So it's really cool to see that continue now.
I agree 100%. I love a loud classroom that way, right? Where the kids are just engaged. I mean, think about drones flying around in the classroom. It's the coolest, right? And the kids are just 100%. Hyper fixated on their projects and their missions. And so I've seen that in other classrooms, and I think it is a wonderful thing. It sure beats, butts in the seats, kind of drooling off at a lecture and this and that. I mean, the kids are super engaged and they're getting a love of learning. So you are pre-K through fifth?
Correct. So we have Project Lead the Way, which is our STEM curriculum that we use. And we have one module for young fives, which is our pre-K program called Living and Non-Living. And then for most of the other grades, we have one physical science and one computer science. So really helping expose students to what does engineering look like? What does science look like? Hey, you all can be computer scientists. And so they're going into middle school, high school while they're making their elective choices with an informed choice. They have that experience. They have that knowledge to pull from is this something that I want to continue to pursue?
Let's go way back. So why did you become a teacher?
I think the biggest reason I became a teacher was because of some of my teachers I had as a kid. I had Mrs. Evans in kindergarten and second grade, and she taught us all about kindness and how to treat other people. I had Mrs. O'Leary for high school yearbook, and she really just inspired me to think outside the box, always be positive. What's a different way we can approach this? I was the yearbook lead my senior year of high school. So that really kind of helped me do some of like the teaching and learning and, hey, how can I teach other kids how to do yearbook, but also how can I grow from their knowledge and become better? And how can I look at things alternatively? So I think I was really inspired by the impact my teachers had on me.
I hear that a lot here. It's always another teacher, right? So it was either my parents were teachers, their parents were teachers. I come from a family of teachers, or it was your experience. It was, I was talking the other week and they were like, I thought I loved history. Turns out I loved the teacher that was teaching me history. And I think that's a common theme that I hear a lot through this, is that you were just inspired by an educator to, oh, this is something that I would actually like to do. I'm touched by these people, and I want to kind of pay that back.
100%. And I think too, like, it's funny you say that, because I'm thinking back now, and in high school we had a robotics team, and it was still fairly new when I started robotics in 1998, and we had General Motors as our sponsors. I was on the hot team. And so
Cool.
having that experience and seeing learning differently, and then we took that program into our elementary schools in the district, and watching those kids get excited and thinking in my head, I never had anything like this as a kid. Like, would I have taken a different path? Would I have been inspired differently? So like really helping to expose students young, and having that first experience dovetail into every teaching experience I've had. So
yeah, I love it. I echo that, because I like to see, when I watch our programs running in schools, I'm like, this is what it is, right? This is what, if I was a little kid, I went to elementary school in the 70s, so it's way long ago, but and I was a tough little kid, but I always think if I had something like this come into my school, or robotics, or a teacher that was, and I had them, I did have some great teachers, but there was just nothing exciting me. It was just school back then. It was just English and math and history and book reports. And it was the 70s, right? It was like kind of that way. And to have the ability to work together on projects and teams and collaborate and build and create, I think I may have responded differently because I was a creative, right? And so I think those students that have that, they gravitate towards it, and it's so much more exciting then, because it's kind of like play, right? I mean, when you think about what you're doing with the robotics, and when your classroom's loud and busy like that, it's kids at work working things out, but it's kind of like how they play too in groups. Do you notice that it's very, am I onto something like the play base?
I do, and it's really cool to watch students, especially in my role where I have them pre-K, kindergarten through fifth grade, because I watch how they mature, they develop, they change who they are. And some of my kids who were super quiet and meek in kindergarten now all of a sudden are taking the lead in fourth and fifth grade and being like, hey, let's try this, let's do this. It's awesome to watch the students make sure everyone in their group is involved, and like recognize different characteristics and different personality traits of each other. And so like our fifth graders just built a toy with at least one moving part. And one of my groups built a theater production, and they had a stage and they had characters, and like that completely entails who that group of students is. And so watching them integrate each other's interests, or I was watching a third grade group today, and one of my quiet students who has been pretty meek throughout the year took charge and was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And this is what we're building. And here, you build this step and you build this step. Okay, now I'm going to build this step. So it really develops who they are as leaders. And it also helps pull some of the kids out of their shells a little bit. And it's also really awesome to watch some of our students who struggle in other areas. This is their strength. This is where they shine. And their classmates notice it about them, and they really recognize it. And I give my students the opportunity to pick their own groups, which we don't get to do a lot in education right now, just because of the demands of everything and the standards and moving so fast. And so they really appreciate that and enjoy that. And it really inspires them to work hard, because they want to get to keep that group first and be picking the group for them. So they're developing all around, and sometimes it's fun too to watch them pick their groups, and like, they're not necessarily picking their best friends. They're picking people of who am I going to collaborate with? Who's going to let me have a turn building? Who's going to help share ideas? Like, they want people that are going to help contribute. So it's awesome to watch them be able to recognize.
That's pretty amazing.
That classmate.
At that young of an age, to be able to have that kind of foresight into, not my best friend, because my best friend's maybe not going to be the strongest one for the team, but I want to run on a team. So let's go back to the meek child, because I love these kind of stories. I just love, this is what I love about teaching and kids. And there's this, it's, the ones that are out and the extroverts and the things, they're great and you love them and they're, but you love the little guy that comes up, the little girl that comes up and breaks out of the shell and has this kind of a breakthrough moment. Like, what do you attribute that to? So that little individual, that child, where did you see that? How did it happen? And what do you think was behind it?
I think sometimes, like whenever they're doing a group design, they always have to draw it in their launch logs or their engineering notebooks first. And they have to draw 2 designs and everyone gets to share before they really decide on the group design. And so everyone is counting on that collaboration. And some of those kids who typically wouldn't have a voice without that process, all of a sudden their group is like, whoa, that is the best idea ever. And so it like silently gives them a voice, which then they can turn into more, or they'll think of something and then their group's like, whoa, I never knew you had that kind of insight. And so it really kind of helps pull out the personalities and show kids in the class different personalities. One of my other favorite parts about their builds is when they're doing their builds, they always do a final presentation for the class. And every time, every kid in the class is able to reflect on something they could do differently with their design. But it's really, really impressive when they're like, well, what we needed to do better was change our group dynamic, because at the beginning, we built 3 different designs and we wasted all of our time on those designs. Next time we just need to decide on one early and roll with it. Or, well, we tried to make this really elaborate design and it didn't work. And so like their reflection on how to improve as learners and how to engage differently sometimes impresses me even more than their ability to be like, yeah, we should have added more counterweight to this side so it didn't tip over. And I mean, these are first, second graders, just like the 4th and 5th graders. Like the same conversations are occurring across all the grade levels.
They sound like little entrepreneurs.
They are.
They really do, because it's all about team, right? I mean, and I love the iteration, the kind of the rapid iteration of man, if we had just what you just said, that I can tell you right now, just in my own entrepreneurial journey, there are many a project I look back on and go, if we had just found the one thing and gone all in on that, as opposed to kind of wasting time poking here, poking there, poking there. It's like there's this old maxim of like, think slow, but once you decide, move, like go fast, right? Like boom, get into it, go all in. And I'm thrilled to hear that like your second graders and things are thinking this way about the dynamic of their team and the way that they were making decisions versus, to your point, putting a counterweight on something. That's important too. But I think the higher level thinking is, how would we have approached this differently? What have we learned through this experience and what will we do differently moving forward? I think that's, wow, at that grade level, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think something else that's really started to like develop for me as a teacher in the past year or two is, in the past, I gave kind of like rigid expectations for a project. You have to have X, Y, Z. It has to be able to do this, this, and this. And now I've kind of tried to take a step back, where I'm still showing their mastery of skills, especially when it comes to coding in our computer science modules. I need you to do A and B, but then after you do that, it's open-ended of where you take it next. And so they're still showing me the mastery of the skills that we've learned. And then some kids will take it 100% artistic. They're adding new characters, they're drawing designs, they're coding music to have certain beats and have a certain rhythm. Other kids are like, hey, I'm going to code 4 levels in my video game, and I'm going to make sure that I show the mastery of my coding skills. And so by having that like foundation skills, I'm still able to assess, but the kids are also super engaged because they know once they hit that foundation, they're able to kind of take it with their own spin and do the route that best suits what they want to showcase.
For those that don't know, I'm sure most listening will, but talk a little bit about Project Lead the Way and what it is and your role in it.
So Project Lead the Way is a STEM curriculum. In the beginning, it had 4 modules for every elementary grade level, 1 for computer science, 2 for engineering, and 1 for biomedical. And since the adoption of next generation science standards, they've really expanded and expounded and have a module that hits all of the standards. It's an incredible program because it has an APB approach, which is activities, problems, and then a real world based problem at the end. And the kids absolutely love it because it's hands-on, it's engaging, it's connected to their real world. I am
Hmm.
personally a big fan of it right now because of all the grant opportunities they have. So a lot
Mm,
of districts, lost ESSER funding and are trying to allocate how can we integrate science, how can we find the resources for science. And Project Lead the Way is offering a lot of grants to help schools get started, which will help
mm,
pay for the
the
materials,
curriculum.
training, the curriculum, everything they need to do a successful implementation. And they have a lot
Mm,
of different implementation methods. I am also a Project Lead the Way master teacher, which means I travel around the country and do online trainings to onboard teachers into
mm,
Project Lead the Way. But as a teacher with 20 years of experience, I've done a lot of different science curriculums in a lot of different environments. And I really love that Project Lead the Way is so hands-on. It is integrating how it connects to the real world. Students are seeing
hmm.
themselves in the curriculum. They're able to grasp the concepts, but learn through exploration versus sit and teach.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's so important to be able to, especially today, being able to connect it to careers, um, critical thinking. I just keep going on this more and more of this whole idea of the person. Knowledge is everywhere. I mean, we've got so much information at our disposal with AI coming up. And what do we really need these kids to be able to do is to think critically, work in teams, collaborate, solve problems, overcome challenges. I think these are skills that are so important beyond just rote learning. And I love the idea of just, again, watching the kids working in groups, playing. They're learning those dynamics. How to connect in a group of power dynamic and struggles, and there's going to be all that, and you have to have that. So I think it's really important as in that project-based model and that problem-based model puts them in those scenarios and those situations, and then layering on the career, like how does this work in the real world? Like what does this mean to me, even at a second, third, fourth grade level?
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I think one of my greatest joys is watching them overcome their productive struggle. And
Mm,
so, there's a lot of times when we want to hop in as teachers and help the kids because we don't want to see them struggle. We don't want to see them, get frustrated. And so
yeah.
that's always like my moment is like, I'm going to let you have a productive struggle until that point of frustration. But until then, I'm going to kind of let you explore and I'm going to let you try it. And a lot of
Yeah.
times we'll go to do something and immediately hand shoot up. And I'm like, you haven't even given your brain time to process. I need you to
Mm,
stop, take a breath, think about what we learned, look back at the directions, see if you can do it. And we just actually had that happen. We were doing a coding project and there was step-by-step directions and immediately so many hands went up and I'm like, give it a try. About 10,
mhm.
15 minutes, I walk by and they're just rocking and rolling and getting the project
Good.
done, making it
Good.
happen. And I'm like, see, you can do it. And they're like, yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
you can.
And
I
that,
can.
that
Yeah.
smile, that's like irreplaceable, right? Like, I got it. I'm so confident right now. And that's super, super cool to see. And I mean, let's be honest, right now we're preparing kids for futures and jobs that we don't know what they are.
We don't know what they are.
So
Yeah.
rote is great, but we need to prepare them for adaptability. We need to prepare with wide sets of skills, being able to adjust on the fly because that's where the future's headed. We don't really truly know.
We don't know. I preaching to the choir for real. I think it's so important to do this character development. I mean, I think it's building character, perseverance, a can-do attitude. These are things that are life skills too. I mean, and you watch struggle. We all do it as parents too. I know. I mean, watching a kid struggle with something, it's so hard to not jump in and help them, right? But like these small challenges that they're going to get it if they just spend, and I think so many times we may jump in just as they're about to get it.
Right.
It's like it was right there, and we disrupted that great learning moment because we then did it for them, right? Would I'm sure you see a lot of breakthroughs. Like, so you've been teaching now. You had 11 years in North Carolina. So have you been teaching for 11 years or more? 20,
This
right?
is my 20th year.
20th year.
21st, I don't know, somewhere around there.
So in that, you've seen kids then graduate, yeah?
Yeah, my
All
first
right.
My first year students in North Carolina invited me down to their graduation. I went down to their graduation. That was
Did
very
they?
cool. I've been to a couple graduations in North Carolina. One of my students actually went to dental school in Ann Arbor, so I got to see her wedding in Ann Arbor, be the witness on the marriage license. I mean, super, super cool to see them develop and grow. It's really fun to watch. I mean, you can say what you want about social media, but I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook now, and
Hmm.
watching their stories, watching what they've done, watching how things they did in elementary school have developed and grown. One of my students, Katie Brooks, was super into art ever since I knew her as a second grader. And she is now a professional artist painting leaves, like legit leaves that you find on the ground. She makes these incredible paintings from them. And she's actually had multiple deals where she's worked for Disney painting leaves for Disney.
No,
Yeah.
really? So we know her work then? We've seen her
You will.
leaves.
She's got an Instagram. She's got a webpage. She's selling like crazy, painting as fast as she can.
Does she sell? She sells her work?
She does.
Let's give her a plug. What's her name?
Katie Brooks. I'd have to
Katie Brooks. We'll look up. You'll send me the link. We'll link to her in the show notes.
Yeah.
We'll send her some love. We'll buy some
We
leaves.
just had a sixth grade student we featured in the district news because he was super excited and shared with me via email, Ms. Schemanske, I just published my very first video game. Here's the website if you want to check it.
Sixth grader?
Sixth grade, published his own
Wow.
website, has a website, has his game up there. It's like a spinoff of Asteroids, did all the coding, has spent the last 2 years at a coding school here in Plymouth, Michigan, learning different coding skills, doing advanced language. I mean, it's super, super cool to see. Undoubtedly, my students' coding skills have surpassed mine at this point. I will acknowledge that. But that's also like a huge sense of pride, right?
Sure.
Like I've inspired them beyond what I can do.
It's the greatest thing, right? That's the goal. Isn't that why you do this?
Yes.
Yeah, it's exactly right. So I love all this. I get like excited about it because I think that there must be nothing more rewarding than getting a call. Like, have you ever received that? Like, is there somebody that you could point out? I mean, we just talked about Katie and this fifth grader that's just for sixth graders just publishes. Have you ever seen somebody you go, wow, look what they're up to now? Like you've worked with so many kids. And has there ever been one? Here's what I want to know. Has there ever been one that you were like, oh, just lost cause? And not that you think that way, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but have there ever been one that struggled? Okay, let's change the dynamic a little bit. You never would have expected it. And then you go, ooh, look what little Scott ended up doing. Like that's amazing. I would have never pinned that. You see that?
I think there has, I think, moving from North Carolina back to Michigan, I kind of lost touch with some of those students. So I didn't see it as much as I would have liked it. But I'll go over to our high school to work on different projects and I'll run into some of my students and they're like, Ms. Schemanske, guess what I'm doing? And yeah, sometimes it really does shock me. There's been some kids who are on our high school robotics team that I'm like, huh. I mean, you have engaged in elementary school. You were like doing it. I knew you could do it. I knew you could do more than you were doing it. But that's really, really cool to see you doing it now. So yeah, there have definitely been some who have shocked me, not because of like the change in potential, but maybe because of the change in effort or like taking the extra to go above and beyond to make it happen.
If you were, because again, I go back to the STEM teacher, like it sounds like your job is great, right? Like, I mean, you get to do all the fun. I'm sure there's like people that are like, Ms. Schemanske gets to do, Sarah's over there playing with robots and stuff. Like, what are we over here doing history lessons for? Like, to become a STEM teacher. I mean, I go back to like, how did you kind of just fell into, because STEM is, again, you don't go to like STEM class. Like, what's your class? Like, would the kids come to you? Are they taking, like, is it an enrichment program? Are you in like an elective?
So in the past, we co-taught. For 8 years, we had a co-taught module where classroom teachers came with the students, and there was 2 adults in the room, which was a super, super powerful module for so many aspects and so many avenues. It really helped everyone who was co-teaching grow as an educator because we all learned from each other. Last year, we switched to having PLTW as a special. So we're on the rotation with music, art, PE, and library. And so the kids come to me once a week for 45 to 60 minutes, depending on the grade level. I personally tend to start with all of our physical science modules just because I find the kids get more excited about the computer science modules. So I kind of save those up. And so then we build off that excitement. Plus, the physical science hits more of the core curriculum. So I want to make sure I'm addressing those standards first. And then if I run out of time at the end, maybe they're not getting as much computer science. Having all those years as a classroom teacher definitely helped me. Having a rich science and engineering background through family definitely helped me. In North Carolina, I was mathematics teacher of the year for our county once. The experience on the science fields. And then when I moved out to Clinton, I was the head of our science team. And I also had students who were up at the high school doing Project Lead the Way. So I saw the power and impact of the program. So saw the position posted in Ann Arbor. I'm like, oh, that has my name all over it. I need to apply for that position. How can I research? How can I figure this out? I may or may not have had a teacher secretly help me undercover. Like, hey, what's Project Lead the Way? Tell me more.
Right.
I didn't necessarily publicize that I was applying for jobs outside the district, but he definitely helped give me an insider view. So
good. What would you? So we were just talking before we turned on the recording here, and I'm thinking about like people that are on the fence or thinking about entering into the profession. What would you say to the new, Sarah 20 years ago, kind of stepping in? What do you know now that you wish you knew then?
I think when you're getting your pre-teaching hours, make sure you're seeing a variety of grade levels. Because I kind of thought I always wanted to be a second grade teacher. And now I realize maybe, hey, third, fourth is more my niche. And so making sure you're giving yourself exposure to all the different grade levels to really help make sure you're going into where you want to go into. The more you can be in the classrooms, better. Like do some subbing, volunteer, get into those classrooms, make sure you're getting involved. When I was in high school, I did a lot of coaching of youth soccer. And partly because I was an avid soccer player growing up, and it was like an easy opportunity for me to give back to the program that gave to me. But the more different experiences you can have working with kids, the more versatile you're going to be as a teacher. And then I always tell our first year teachers, make a smile folder. When you get that positive email from a teacher, when you get that positive email from an admin, a colleague, whatever the case may be, have those in a folder. Then when you have that tough day or you have that upset parent or a lesson just didn't go well, you can kind of look back and be like, oh yeah, okay, no,
Open your smile folder.
Something right. I may or may not still have a smile folder years later.
I like the smile folder idea. There's a takeaway from today. The smile folder. I love it. That's great. It's the coolest idea, right? So you just bank great positive experiences in the smile folder. So when you're having a rough one, you can make a withdrawal, right?
Yeah. And it's kind of cool because I was looking back at one over the fall from 5-10 years ago. And I was like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that project. Oh, that was super cool. And so it inspires me, helps me re-engage. And also too, there's sometimes I go back deep into the archives and I'm like, oh yeah, that one's coming out of retirement, pulling that one back.
That's so cool. The smile folder. So let's talk future. Let's talk about where things are going. What excites you? It's a wild world, right? So, I mean, it is. To your point, we don't know. I don't even know if we know what next year looks like anymore versus, back in the day, we could say, yeah, it's going to be different in 5 years. We thought the internet was a big disruptor, but we know what's really the disruptor today is, AI. And I know there's a lot of hype around it, but I think it's still a big deal. I think it's going to be as impactful, if not more, than the early, I kind of tipped my hat to my age, but, I remember AOL in my first apartment when I was 26, right? So I grew up I'm an 80s kid as a teenager. Right. And I grew up through the technological revolution. What a great time to be a teenager, right? Watching all that happen. But now we're seeing AI, and I think it's as impactful, if not more. What are you excited about in the future of this new world that we're living in with all this? Your students are going to grow up in a world that's going to be strikingly different than I think anything anybody's ever seen ever.
Right. I am excited for AI. I think the possibilities that it holds. I think right now there's a lot of push and emphasis on how are you using it effectively? How are you using it productively? Like, let's not use it to write our paper, but let's use it to springboard some ideas and help pull it together. How can we use it with integrity and honesty about creating our own work? I personally haven't dug too deep into it at the elementary level. I know there's a lot more emphasis on it at the middle high school level, and our secondary is offering it. I'm excited. I have also the opportunity to work with our career and technical education director times a week. And so I'm really excited about the possibilities there are to really engage and encompass all students. We have a lot of different programs in our district: cosmetology, home building, auto, engineering, marketing. And so we're not trying to streamline students into any one way. We're really thinking about what piques your interest, what engages you, what is something that you're passionate about. And so I'm excited to see that continue to grow and develop. We just had a countywide millage pass, which is going to help us offer even more programs and help get some of our students off the wait list. So I'm excited of kind of like taking a step back per se and really helping meet students where they are and exposing students to a lot of different things so they can find the pathway that works best for them. Yeah, maybe we have some students who are super into AI. We have kids who are really into computer science, but for those kids who aren't, showing them that any pathway is okay. That's what I'm for.
That's cool. Yeah, automotive. I mean, the trades are huge right now, right? I mean, they're making a huge comeback. They seem to be, and not beyond trades. I think entrepreneurship, it's as a person that started a business, I couldn't have done what I did 20 years ago.
Right.
It's easier today, right? We have access. The phones allow us to reach, social media allows us to promote, market, and reach a broader audience. So if you have a good idea, I think, again, that's what I love about your program is I felt like what you were describing there was a bunch of little entrepreneurs, which engineering, I think, has a lot of roots in entrepreneurship. There's a lot of engineers that enter into entrepreneurship because they're inventing, right? They're creating, and then they have to go out and they want to market their product, their design, or their idea. I love it. Let's do this. Let's leave off because I want to be mindful of your time. And so let's set us out with, that thinking about the audience here, who's listening, the teachers, words of encouragement, words of inspiration. Why would you want to teach? Or those teachers that are in it feeling a little burned out? Let's talk to them and send them off on a real high note.
I think remembering to find the joy in teaching by having your students refine the joy in learning. There's some days, especially if I don't have a certain grade level for every day of the week, we do STEM centers. And watching my students like re-engage with Legos as fifth graders, play with Play-Doh as fourth graders, like their love for learning reignites. And so taking a step back and kind of like taking a break from the curriculum for a day, half a day, and letting your students do a project that really inspires them, and watching how excited they get to learn, watching how excited they are to work with each other. The number of times that we're doing STEM centers and my third, fourth, fifth graders, Miss Schemanske, come check out what we built. Can you take our picture? I mean, they're living their 5-year-old best life, right? And so being mindful of that as educators, like how can we rejuvenate some of their joy of learning? Because as that sparks, our joy for teaching returns.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I think that's great. Sarah, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. People can find you. You are on X, formerly Twitter, at Teach Schemanske, and I will link to it. We'll spell that. I'll link to it. Where else can people follow you if they want to get a hold of you? Right there on Twitter, X, or do you want to? Right
there on Twitter, yeah, and we can throw my email into.
We'll put your email up there, which is the Schemanske AAPS K12 . We'll get that whole thing up there, right?
Yeah, it's Schemanske S at AAPS.
Schemanske S at AAPS.K12.mi.us. That's a long one.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Rolls right off the tongue. I think what you're doing is really cool. Thank you so much for everything. I'm sure your kids appreciate you and their parents appreciate you. And this is going to be a great episode. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.